Have you ever felt like you're speaking a language that no one else around you understands? Not a foreign language, but the native tongue of your own mind. It's a feeling you've known your entire life. You're in a conversation, explaining a thought. Not just a thought, but a tapestry of interconnected ideas, patterns, and feelings. And you see it in the other person's eyes. A subtle glaze, a polite but vacant nod. They are hearing the words, but they are not understanding the music. So you learn to edit. You learn to offer the simplified 10% version of what you're actually thinking, because it's less exhausting than trying to explain the entire symphony playing in your head. You learn to stay quiet, to observe, because it's safer than sharing a perception that no one else seems to see. This isn't just about being intelligent or introverted. It's a fundamental difference in your operating system. You live in a world of layers, symbols, and unseen connections, while most of the world seems content to live on the surface. And in your past, this very quality was likely used as a weapon against you. A narcissistic partner or a toxic family member may have called you too complicated, too intense, or accused you of always overthinking things. They punished your depth because they could not control it. They tried to convince you that your rich inner world was a sign of instability, a form of madness. You were made to feel that your mind, in all its complexity, was a burden, a problem to be fixed. And this leads to the most painful, internal moral question of all. The one that whispers to you in moments of profound isolation. Is my mind a gift, or is it a curse? Am I seeing a deeper layer of truth, or am I fundamentally broken, unable to connect with the simple, straightforward reality everyone else seems to enjoy? This feeling, this unique and profound loneliness, is not a sign of your failure. It is the first and most important piece of evidence that you are operating with a different kind of map. That map has a name. The psychologist who first charted this territory, Gustav Jung, called it introverted intuition. It is not simply a gut feeling. It is a primary way of perceiving reality. A cognitive function that operates unconsciously, constantly synthesizing vast amounts of data from your inner world and the outer world to see the hidden patterns, the underlying archetypes, and the future trajectory of events. Think of it this way. Most people perceive the world as a collection of facts and objects. They see the trees, you perceive the forest, but more than that. You perceive the ancient root system connecting everything beneath the ground. You feel the direction the wind will blow tomorrow, and you sense the health of the entire ecosystem. Because this way of knowing is so holistic and unconscious, you often can't show your work. You just know. You know a person is disingenuous. You know a situation is about to collapse. You know the hidden meaning behind a seemingly random event. This profound, non-linear knowing can be frightening to a world that demands logical, step-by-step proof. And because it is so often misunderstood and dismissed by others, it becomes a part of your shadow. It is a powerful, brilliant function that you may have learned to doubt or hide simply because no one else could validate it. The 8 signs we are about to explore are not symptoms of being damaged. They are the distinct markers of a mind led by this rare and powerful function. They are the evidence of your native tongue. Let's begin. Let's illuminate the markers of this unique cognitive landscape. If you recognize yourself in these signs, know that you are not alone. You are simply rare. Number 1. You think in patterns and connections that others miss. To you, nothing is an isolated event. When your friends discuss a news story, they see a single incident. You see a historical echo, a psychological motive, and the almost certain trajectory of where it will lead in 6 months. When you watch a movie, you're not just following the plot. You are seeing the ancient myth being reenacted, the archetypal energies at play, the symbolism hidden in plain sight. Your mind is a natural synthesizer. It operates like a vast, invisible web, and every new piece of information, every conversation, every observation is a vibration that instantly shows you its connection to everything else. You don't have to try to do this. You can't stop doing it. It is the very way you breathe mentally. You're at a party, listening to a new acquaintance tell a story about a recent job change. It's a simple, funny story on the surface, but as they speak, your mind is working in the background. You connect the way they talk about their old boss to a comment they made earlier about their father. You see a pattern of seeking and then rejecting authority figures. You sense a deep, unfulfilled need for validation that will likely cause them to sabotage this new job as well. You see their entire life's script in a 5-minute anecdote. You say nothing. Of course. To voice this perception would be socially catastrophic. You just nod and smile, feeling the profound isolation of seeing a truth that no one else in the conversation is aware of. This is the hallmark of introverted intuition. While other minds are focused on the concrete details of the present moment, the what. Your mind is perpetually focused on the underlying framework, the why, and the what it means. This ability can feel like a burden. It can make small talk feel impossible and surface-level interactions feel deeply unsatisfying. But it is also the mind of the visionary, the strategist, and the sage. It is the ability to see the whole chessboard, while others see only the next move. It allows you to navigate life not with a simple roadmap, but with a deep understanding of the invisible currents that shape the journey. This leads us directly to the second sign, which explains the texture and density of your daily experience. Number 2, you experience reality in multiple layers. For you, an event is never just an event. A conversation is never just a conversation. While others seem to experience life as a single, linear narrative, you experience it as a rich and often overwhelming symphony. You are simultaneously aware of what is being said, what is being felt but left unsaid, the symbolic meaning of the interaction, the energetic residue it will leave behind, and the historical pattern it echoes. It's like reading a sentence on a page, but at the same time, You are also reading the footnotes, the author's hidden motivations, the cultural history of the font, and the paper's watermark. This constant stream of multi-layered data is your normal. You can't turn it off. You're walking through a museum with a friend. Your friend is commenting on the artist's technique, the colors, the historical period. You see all of that. But you are also feeling something else entirely. You're feeling the grief of the artist that was poured into the canvas, the collective longing of the era in which it was painted, the faint psychic echo of the thousands of people who have stood in this exact spot and looked at this same painting. The art is not an object on a wall to you. It is a living portal, a vortex of time and emotion. You are so saturated with this experience that you can barely speak. Your friend turns to you and asks, "So, you're not a fan of this one?" And the gap between your two realities feels a mile wide. This is not you being in your head. This is your consciousness operating at a different resolution. You are naturally attuned to the symbolic, the archetypal, and the energetic dimensions of life. This is why simple interactions can be so exhausting. You aren't just navigating one conversation. You are navigating 5 conversations at once. The literal, the emotional, the symbolic, the energetic, and the intuitive. This multi-layered perception can be a heavy burden in a world that prioritizes the simple surface, but do not mistake it for a flaw. It is the source of your profound empathy, your creativity, and your wisdom. You are not just looking at the world, you are seeing its soul. This multi-layered perception naturally leads you to a place most people actively avoid, a place they find uncomfortable or frightening. Number 3, you are attracted to the dark side of human nature. Let us be very clear about what this means. This is not a morbid fascination with violence or cruelty. It is a profound, intellectual, and spiritual curiosity about what Jung called the shadow. While others are content with stories of simple heroes and unambiguous goodness, you find yourself drawn to the complexities of the anti-hero. You read books about psychological manipulation. You watch documentaries about the inner workings of cults. You are compelled by the villain's origin story. You do this not because you are dark, but because you are courageous. You know, on an instinctual level, that the light is only half of the story. After witnessing firsthand the destructive power of another person's unintegrated shadow, their narcissism, their envy, their rage, you developed an urgent, non-negotiable need to understand it. How does it operate? Why does it exist? What happens when it is ignored and allowed to fester in the psychic basement? This curiosity is a sign of immense psychological health and courage. Most people spend their entire lives running from the very idea of the shadow. They build their identities on a foundation of good vibes only, creating a fragile persona that is terrified of its own hidden depths. But you are different. You are not afraid to look. Your mind does not seek comfort in denial. It seeks truth in wholeness. You understand that ignoring the darkness doesn't make it go away. it only gives it more power. It is the refusal to look at the wolf that allows it to stalk you in the dark. This attraction is not a sign of a morbid soul. It is the mark of a healer. A healer knows that you cannot integrate what you do not understand, and you cannot heal what you refuse to look at. Your willingness to gaze into the abyss is not a flaw. It is a prerequisite for the profound wisdom you are destined to carry. Your curiosity about the whole of human nature, both light and dark, means you often think about concepts that others do not. And this leads to a profound and often painful communication gap. Number 4, you feel like you're speaking a different language. This is not a matter of vocabulary. It is a matter of reality itself. You have tried, time and time again, to explain the intricate tapestry of your inner world, only to be met with a well-meaning but utterly blank stare. You try to describe a feeling, a pattern you've observed, an intuitive hit, and the words themselves feel clumsy and inadequate, like small nets trying to capture the ocean. People hear your literal words, but they miss the entire universe of context, emotion, and symbolic meaning that lives behind them. This forces you into a state of internal translation, constantly trying to downgrade your multidimensional perception into a simplified 2D version that others can grasp, and it is utterly exhausting. You try to explain to a loved one why you need a day of complete silence after a draining social event. You use words like energetic residue, trying to describe the feeling of other people's emotional states clinging to you. The psychic overwhelm that has nothing to do with being physically tired. Your loved one, trying to be helpful, responds, "Oh, so you just need a nap?" And in that moment, the chasm between your two experiential worlds feels infinite. You realize they don't have a word for what you are feeling, because they do not have the faculty to feel it themselves. You simply say, "Yes, I'm just tired," because it is easier than trying to teach a language they will never understand. This is because you are attempting to describe a multidimensional reality using the limited tools of a surface-level language. You are trying to explain color to a world that sees in grayscale. Your mind thinks in archetypes, in paradoxes, in non-linear connections. Everyday language is not built for that. It is built for describing what is, not what is symbolized. I want you to tell me in the comments, what is one concept or feeling you have always struggled to explain to others? Your struggle is not a sign of poor communication skills. It is a sign that your inner world is richer, deeper, and more complex than the common vernacular can contain. This is why people with minds like yours are so often drawn to poetry, to art, to music. You are not just seeking beauty. You are seeking a more adequate language. This difficulty with language often stems from a fundamental difference in how your mind processes reality and makes decisions, which brings us to our 5th sign. Number 5. You are not comfortable with pure, cold logic. This is not to say you are illogical. You can appreciate a rational argument and a well-thought-out plan, but you feel a deep, instinctual resistance to systems of thought that claim logic is the only valid form of intelligence. You become deeply uncomfortable when someone demands a purely logical, linear reason for a decision that came from a place of profound intuitive knowing. You feel an internal impatience during conversations that are all head and no heart, all facts and no feeling. Black and white thinking feels brittle and lifeless to you. You see the world in infinite shades of gray, full of paradox and contradiction. For you, a conclusion that is logically sound but feels wrong is not a valid conclusion at all. This quality was likely a source of immense frustration in your past relationships. Toxic systems and narcissistic individuals often use a twisted, rigid logic as a tool of control. They demand proof for your feelings. They dismantle your experiences with pedantic arguments. They dismiss your intuition as irrational. You learned firsthand that logic, when stripped of empathy and wisdom, can become a weapon of oppression. Your discomfort, therefore, is not a sign of an intellectual deficit. It is a sign of a more holistic and, frankly, a more advanced form of reasoning. Your mind operates on what can be called intuitive logic. It is a form of knowing that synthesizes all data streams at once. It honors the information from your analytical mind, but it gives equal weight to the data from your emotional body, your somatic responses, and your intuitive pattern recognition. It understands that the truest path is found at the intersection of all these ways of knowing. You are not illogical. You are post-logical. You have graduated from a limited system of thought. You are seeking a form of wisdom that can hold paradox, that can embrace mystery, and that refuses to sever the head from the heart. You know that the smartest decision is not always the one that makes the most sense on paper, but the one that resonates with the truth of your entire being. Your discomfort with pure logic is because you are processing so much more data than what is simply said or presented. This gives you an almost uncanny ability, which brings us to sign number 6. Number 6, you easily see through social masks. Carl Jung called the social mask we present to the world the persona. The persona is not inherently bad. It is a necessary tool for navigating society. It is the professional self you bring to work, the friendly neighbor self, the polite stranger self. However, your mind does something that most do not. It sees the mask, but it also sees the real person standing behind it, and it feels the gap between the two. You are like an audience member at a play who can simultaneously see the character on stage and the tired, sweating actor underneath the costume. You can be in a conversation with someone projecting immense confidence, but you can feel the subtle vibration of their deep insecurity. You can listen to someone perform the role of the perfect parent or the selfless volunteer, but you can sense the unmet needs and hidden motivations driving the performance. You're at a professional gathering, talking to an individual who is widely admired. They are polished, articulate, and successful. As they speak, they craft a perfect narrative of their achievements. But you don't just hear the words. You feel the frantic, hungry energy behind them, the desperate need for your admiration. You see the flicker of fear in their eyes when they think they've said the wrong thing. You sense the hollow echo where their authentic self should be. You feel a strange mix of compassion and deep caution. But you also feel profoundly alone, because you realize you are the only one in the room who isn't buying the performance. You are the only one who sees the ghost in the machine. This ability to perceive the gap between the persona and the true self is a form of psychic X-ray vision. It can be deeply unsettling, and it can make you feel cynical or judgmental. A narcissist, whose entire existence is a carefully constructed false self, finds this ability absolutely terrifying. It is the greatest threat to their reality. They will do everything in their power to convince you that what you are seeing isn't real, that you are the one who is too critical or making things up. But you are not. This is not a flaw in your perception. This is its clarity. It is your built-in authenticity detector. It is a sacred and powerful tool that allows you to discern who is safe, who is genuine, and who is simply playing a part. When you see the patterns, the layers, and the masks that others do not, a profound and inevitable consequence arises. It is perhaps the most painful sign of all. Number 7, you experience existential loneliness. This is not the ordinary loneliness of a quiet evening at home. This is a loneliness you can feel in a room crowded with people who love you. It is not a lack of company. It is a lack of true resonance. It is the quiet, aching awareness that your perception of reality is so fundamentally different that it feels almost impossible to truly share. It is the feeling of being the sole inhabitant of your own unique, intricate, and layered universe. You can share facts, you can share stories, but the underlying music of your consciousness, the way you connect ideas and feel the symbolic weight of the world, that remains yours, and yours alone. It is the loneliness of the deep-sea explorer who has seen creatures of the abyss and returns to the surface, only to find there are no words in any language to describe the strange, beautiful, and terrifying things they have witnessed. You try, but the description always falls short of the experience. This existential ache is the direct result of all the other signs combined. When your mind operates on a frequency of patterns, layers, and archetypes, you are, by definition, living in a different reality than those who operate on the frequency of the literal and the surface level. You have woken up from a dream that others are still inside. And while there is clarity in being awake, there is also a deep and profound sorrow in the separation it creates. But this is not a tragedy. It is the mark of a sovereign consciousness. It is the noble, albeit painful, price of a truly individual mind. It is a sign that you are walking the path of what Jung called individuation in its deepest sense, becoming fully and completely yourself, separate from the collective hypnosis. This loneliness is not a sign that you have failed to connect with the world. It is a sign that you have successfully connected with the deepest parts of yourself. This profound sense of loneliness is often the catalyst for the final and most purposeful sign that your mind is different. This is the turning point. It is the answer to the question, why? Why is my mind like this? Number 8. You are naturally attracted to transformation. This is not a simple interest in self-improvement. This is not about learning a new skill or getting a promotion. This is a deep, instinctual, soul-level pull toward fundamental, alchemical change. You are drawn to stories of the phoenix rising from the ashes. You are fascinated by the caterpillar dissolving into goo within the chrysalis before it can become the butterfly. While others cling to the comfort of stability and the safety of the known, you are not afraid of the messy, chaotic process of dismantling your own life in the service of a more authentic one. You are willing to question your deepest beliefs, to walk away from identities you have outgrown, and to sit in the uncomfortable void of the in-between stages of your life. For you, change is not a threat. It is the entire point. This is because your mind, with all its complex faculties, was built for one ultimate purpose, a purpose that Carl Jung gave the name individuation. Individuation is the lifelong, sacred process of becoming the most complete, whole, and authentic version of yourself. It is the journey of integrating all the parts of your psyche, your persona and your shadow, your logic and your intuition, to become a true individual. And all the other signs we have discussed are simply the tools your psyche uses to achieve this. Your pattern-seeking mind allows you to see what needs to change. Your multi-layered perception allows you to understand the deeper reasons for that change. Your curiosity about the shadow gives you the courage to face the parts you must integrate. And your tolerance for loneliness gives you the strength to walk this path, even when you must walk it alone. Your mind is not a curse. It is not a burden. It is a finely tuned instrument, specifically designed for the greatest and most meaningful journey a human being can undertake. You are not built for a simple life. You are built for a transformed one. So let us take a step back and look at the portrait we have just painted. A mind that thinks in patterns, that experiences the world in layers, a consciousness that is drawn to the shadow, that speaks its own unique language, that trusts intuition over pure logic, a perception that sees through the social masks of the persona, that endures existential loneliness, and that is, above all, magnetically pulled toward transformation. For years, you have likely looked at these qualities as a scattered collection of symptoms. You saw them as evidence of your anxiety, your trauma, your social awkwardness, your fundamental brokenness. You have been trying to fix the individual parts, believing that if you could just be less sensitive, less cynical, less complex, you could finally be at peace. But you have been misdiagnosing the very nature of your being. These are not symptoms of a disorder. They are the features of a highly specialized operating system. They are the inseparable components of a consciousness designed not for surface-level living, but for the profound, alchemical journey of individuation. You don't have these traits by accident. You have them by design. Your mind sees the patterns so that it can understand the need for change. It sees through the masks so that it can identify what is inauthentic. It feels loneliness because that is the price of forging a path separate from the crowd. It is drawn to the darkness because that is where the lost pieces of your own soul are hidden. To have a mind like this is to carry both a great burden and a great gift. The burden is that you will never see the world simply again. You will always feel the weight of its unseen layers. The gift is that you have been given the tools to navigate reality at its deepest level, to find meaning where others see only chaos, and to undergo the most sacred journey a human can experience, the journey back to the whole, authentic self. Your mind isn't wrong, it's just built for a different destination. If you recognize the native language of your own mind in this video, subscribe. You are not broken. You are just rare. Let this space be a gathering point for us. Share this with one other person you know who carries the burden of seeing too much, and you are left with the beautiful, terrible ache of seeing the world in all its truth.